So we're talking about some fan fiction today, Erin.
Yeah, Alan, we are. This is weird. I hate this.
Would you like to try the intro?
No.
Well, then this is what we're going with.
Great.
Okay, so what are the two tags we're doing today?
So today we're talking about Fluff,
Mm-hmm.
and we are reading Coffee Shop AUs.
So what do we think of when we think Fluff?
When I think of Fluff, I definitely think about, like, cute, warm fuzzy, happy.
Yeah.
I have a propensity for reading fluff and angst in one.
Oh.
So, but like the true, just like tooth-rotting fluff,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the world.
Exactly.
There might be a tiny little bit of dramatic tension
Yeah.
because it's a story and you don't, but even then sometimes it's just people cuddling and it's fine.
Yeah.
There's very little conflict, or it's so low stakes that you can just really enjoy the like, oh, they're just like cuddling and they're just, you just want it to be cute.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at. It's always like, I picture myself on a large couch in a Snuggie.
Yes.
with a piping like hot chocolate that I hold with both hands. I'm wearing a sweater, obviously. That's like
Clearly.
way too big, and like it's like I'm wearing it like you are, like the sweater you are currently wearing, which is like the sleeves are gloves essentially.
Yes.
And I'm just
sweater weather is playing in the background.
Exactly. And the more I read of the Fluff, I just like press up against the couch. I become a ball of like contentness. It's just so cute.
Yes. I wanted my face to do the cat happy face. Where you're just like,
yes.
Yeah.
And then coffee shop AUs. I don't drink coffee, so I don't go to enough Starbucks or coffee shops for it to be like that's what I want to happen. But I don't know. There's something really.
I mean, full disclosure, I don't go to coffee shops either, and I do drink coffee. And I certainly don't sit around coffee shops all day waiting for some beautiful stranger to, like, do something that makes me want to talk to them or whatever.
Right.
When I'm at the coffee shop, I'm not kidding. When I go to a coffee shop, I'm like, leave me the fuck alone. But, like, the coffee shop AU is quintessential fan fiction.
Absolutely.
Like, I would argue that it is the fanfiction AU when people think about alternate universe placements. Like, it's the first one that comes up.
I would say so.
It is one of the most popular, I think, and it crosses all sorts of, like, fandoms and, like, all this stuff. It's in every fandom I've ever been part of. There's always the coffee shop fic.
I guess it's like the universality. Like, anyone could walk in a coffee shop. Anyone could be working at a coffee shop. Anyone could own a coffee shop.
Right.
You know?
It's also just, like, a creative location.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, like, I think it's something that everybody's kind of familiar with. Everyone has coffee shops or has been to a coffee shop. There's a lot of sort of, like, opportunity for chance encounters, which is a big fan fiction thing where it's like, I just happen across you, or, like, you and I have been sitting across the way from each other for weeks at the coffee shop, or whatever it is. There's a lot of opportunity for there to be a natural connection without it being forced. And it's also just, like, you know, it's cozy, and it's comfy, and it's comforting, and it's fun, and, you know, who doesn't love a good barista? Like, everyone knows a hot barista.
Oh,
like, come on.
So true.
We've all seen a barista at a Starbucks and go, you can get it. And then, like...
So true.
So, like, it makes sense to me that it's appealing.
So why don't we go into what we have this week? Do we want to do the Fluff tag first?
Yes. Fluff and then the coffee shop AU.
Okay.
What did you think of the Fluff I sent you? I need you to like it.
What was it was so cute. I also need you to know, you sent me the longest, you sent me the longest story in this document. Like, from out of the 4 that we read, you sent me the longest one.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why I kept expecting all of the ones you sent me to be, like, novel length, but then you sent me this and it was so short. I finished it in, like, 2 seconds.
I tried to send you a variety of,
I'm so appreciative.
Options.
I was such a fan. I thought, I guess we should
for the folks at home, what did I send you?
Yeah. The Fluff tag that Erin sent me is called Fin Dameron by author Muggles. And it is a Poe Dameron and Finn fic.
From Star Wars.
Star Wars, the newest trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't know that it'll be a trilogy. It might be more than that, because Disney.
Oh, it's almost definitely going to be more than that.
Yeah.
That's a money-making machine, that is.
Just going and going.
Yep.
But you know what? They're good movies, so I ain't complaining.
Like, this is kind of sacrilege in the Star Wars world, but I really haven't watched much of the original 6.
Oh, okay.
I have seen I've seen the very first one that was released, so the original...
A New Hope. Like
the very, very first movie that George Lucas ever did.
Yeah.
And then...
It's only prequels, isn't it? It's only prequels.
I haven't even seen them all the way through, though. I've seen bits and pieces of stuff after that. Like, I always... Because I'm a Carrie Fisher lover, and I miss her very deeply, I watched the one where she is taken by Jabba the Hutt in like bits and pieces, and it's the slave bikini one.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so I watched her kill the giant slug thing.
When she strangled him.
Yeah, when she strangled him, it was awesome. And then that was it. And then I saw the first in the modern trilogy all the way through, which was the Force Awakens, that one. So I saw that one and was like, oh, this is great. And then I saw The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, which is the newest one.
The Last Jedi. Yeah. Whatever. These two that have been that have come out.
So I had watched the prequels as a child, and that's all I pretty much had seen. And then last Christmas, my brother was like, let's watch all 6. And I was like, all right. And so over the span of a week, we watched all 6 movies in chronological order. So we did prequels first and then, like, chronological in the Star Wars world. And I'm a fan. I was like, this is good. This is good shit. And then luckily, it was right around the time of The Last Jedi. So I was like, all right, we're going to finish these. We watched Force Awakens, and then we went to go watch Last Jedi and the movies. It was a good time. So, anywho, back to the story.
Backing up to fanfiction.
I totally forgot that Finn was a clone.
I don't know that he's a clone. He was a stormtrooper. Right. Is that what you mean?
Well, they're clones.
Oh.
Oh, right. Well, you haven't seen it. Like,
I haven't seen
Attack of the Clones. That's, the stormtroopers are all manufactured. They're all clones.
Oh. So, fun fact about that. I only know fanfiction lore about all of that. And the general sort of decided upon canon in fanfic world is that he was a child soldier. That he was kidnapped as a child and placed in the stormtrooper program. And I don't know if that comes from the movies or not. Clearly it doesn't. But
I think so. But I'm also not, like, super observant, so there are things that might have just flown right over my head. If you know, listeners, write in. Let us
please educate us, because we cannot. We're too lazy to Google it.
Honestly. So, Finn Dameron, let me give you the summary. Finn doesn't quite get how last names work yet, and accidentally gives his name on an official form as Finn Dameron.
No.
And it is the cutest thing in the entire world. So usually when I think of Fluff, I think of, like, disgustingly, like, cutesy things you're cuddling on a couch and, like, proclaiming your love. And I kind of like that this wasn't that, but it made you squeal in an entirely different way. It's just so cute. And then when he, like, as Finn progressively understands his mistakes, he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, Poe is going to freak out. And then, I mean, I won't spoil it. All 900 words of them.
I feel like we have to spoil it, though. Because we're talking about that.
Yeah, that's fair. So in the end, then Poe is just like, oh, that's cool. You should keep it. It suits you. And I was like, damn. It's so cute.
I love the moment where, it's so classic fan fiction, but it's so fantastic, where the lady that he goes to, Finn panics, because he gives Finn Dameron as his name. And without really realizing what it means. And then he realizes, oh, shit, he's talking to Poe. He's like, what is this last name thing? And he's like, oh, it's a thing that you get from your family. It just identifies you as an individual. And he was like, ooh, so, like, no one would just, I don't know, like, casually take someone else's name. And she goes, oh, no, that happens all the time when you get married. And he just goes, fuck! And, like, runs away. And he goes to the lady at the thing, and the lady's like, well, you have to get this signed off by your supervisor. Who is Poe Dameron? I love it!
And I believe her quote is something like, which I'm sure you wouldn't have trouble getting preferential treatment.
Right, which is so funny. And Finn's just like, oh no!
Can we talk about how cute it is that once he, like, realizes that, like, he took Poe's name, he's like, I've stolen his identity. Oh no, I've taken this from him.
Yeah,
so
he's gonna be so mad, and then of course he's mad because it's Fluff.
Ugh.
No, I'm glad you liked it, because that was one of the ones that I had a hard time picking. Fluff? Just a general Fluff tag.
Yeah, the general tags are kind of hard. Because there's so many things that kind of fit into that, but then there's things that stories that fit better into other things. I thought this was really good.
Yay.
It was nice. It was short, sweet. It was like unwrapping like a butterscotch candy. It just you just eat it and you're like, I feel warm.
Delightful. And that is what Fluff is all about, right? It's like the warm and fuzzies.
Yes, the warm and fuzzies.
I gotta pick something that just makes him happy.
Which, by the way, should be the name of our band. The warm and fuzzies.
We get up on stage in, like, giant fluffy sweaters.
Yes, and we just sit and, like...
We sit and play guitars underneath blankets. And we're just like...
Whoever's singing is, like, knitting.
Yeah. Me! It's me! I can't play any instruments.
I just hold your yarn like they do with, like...
Yeah, you play it like an accordion.
Yes!
That
done.
would be fantastic.
The Warm and Fuzzies coming soon to a coffee shop near you.
To a coffee shop near you. We have our own Spotify account.
Oh, so good.
Oh, fantastic. What an aesthetic choice. Okay, so the Fluff fic you sent to me, by comparison, is a High School Musical fiction.
Can you think of anything fluffier than High School Musical?
No. And, like, to be fair, I have not seen High School Musical in a long time.
Dang it, I forgot about that.
I was in middle school when High School Musical came out, which means I was just into that age where it wasn't cool.
Is that true?
I think so.
I felt like that was cool in middle school.
No.
We were probably hanging out with different people.
Probably. I was also, because of my life, I was also working at that point. I was working at a summer camp.
So that's unfortunate. Yeah, I would have hated my life.
Yeah, so we watched it a lot at summer camp, and I just couldn't stand it. And what bothers me most about that is Kenny Ortega directed Newsies. Newsies is my favorite thing ever, and I may or may not have written a full-length, essentially fan fiction, quote-unquote, novel of Newsies when I was 11.
And the series finale to this podcast will be us reading
No, it won't. That will die of fiery death. Aaron. It's actually kind of good, but we're not going to worry about it. I'm actually a good writer. You know, so a Kenny Ortega musical, not appealing to me, hurts my soul. But anyway, so I didn't really, when I was reading actually several of your recommendations, I either wasn't part of the fandom or didn't remember enough of the source material to be like, oh, who is this? Like, what are the relationships here?
Right.
And fanfiction relies so heavily on the contextualization that you have from just knowing the thing, because you don't have to do a lot of the exposition work to set it up. That said, I didn't remember who anyone was. That's a long...
And you've only seen the first one, though.
And I've only seen the first one.
You didn't even get the good part in the second one, which is... so the fic called Every Day's a Holiday by Mixtapestar, and it's a Chad and Ryan fic.
Courtbin Blue and Blondie?
Yes,
okay.
With a hat.
Blonde gay boy.
Blonde gay boy, what's his name? Lucas Gabriel.
Sure.
Yeah.
You could have said any name and I would have said sure.
So the second movie, they have this like sexually tense like musical number.
Yes.
And so good.
Okay.
Highly recommend showing that to you.
Great. I did not have any of that context in my brain. However, this was an enjoyable fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like, it was palatable.
Yeah.
It was...
oh man.
Was it the most fantastic thing I've ever read? No. But it was enjoyable. And particularly around the holidays, it's always fun to like read about, the Christmas Carol flirting and the the Christmas present game and whatever. I am also a sucker for when people write about some kind of like financial disparity where someone like wants to buy this person a whole bunch of gifts and the other person is like, don't you dare because I can't. And I don't know why that is always such a good little like fluff piece.
Yeah.
But it is.
That's a good question because when you're talking about it, I'm also like, oh, it's so cute. But like,
it's like realistic.
Like if that happened in real life, if some like let's say someone comes up to you with a really expensive gift, I feel guilty.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If it happens to someone else, we're like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, I guess it's because it's like externalized, so that like when it's not you can be like, oh, but like look at how much they like you.
Oh yeah.
And it's like really cute, and then everyone secretly wants expensive things, right? Like I'm not the only person sitting here and being like, but I would be cool with, like it's, I don't know, it's just sweet. So like it was fine. What I'm gonna be the more critical one in this pairing.
Oh, I can already tell.
Funny. It was a little choppy in its writing style, which that's fine. It was just a little bit more tell, don't show, which I really like any written thing, but particularly fan fiction. I tend to not enjoy fan fiction that is a lot of like, They went downstairs. There was a gift. They went in the car. They kissed. I'm like, okay, give me a little something. Like, give me some flair here.
Some flair. Throw in some SAT words.
Right.
Some metaphors.
It was very like, this is what happened, and then they went to the car, and then they did that. So, like, that was less appealing to me. Mm-hmm. But it was perfectly good. And, like, I enjoyed it.
So let me read the summary. Chad and Ryan learn more about each other on the rides to and from school. At the Evans family's Christmas party, they finally exchange the Christmas gifts they've been agonizing over all week.
Also, the shared rides to and from school thing is so cute.
I love don't know why. That. Yeah, there's...
Again, probably because it never happened to me. I was always riding in the car with my mom, which is very different.
I always took the bus.
Yeah.
But I think my first crush... Well, that's probably not true, but, like, the first one I remember being, like, serious about, it was on a best friend at the time who was very straight, so straight. But he sat next to me on the...
so straight.
Yeah, who sat next to me on the bus every morning, and we would just have the best conversations. I don't know, something about, like, traveling somewhere with someone is so cute.
I also have a theory that the car is the best place to have any conversation with anyone ever.
Agreed.
Yeah, because I think it's because you're not facing each other.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's no pressure to, like, look someone in the eye and have a conversation with them. You can just say things, and it's fine. And also there's, like, an air of safety because it's, like, confined space.
Yeah.
I came out to my mom in a car for that reason.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things. Like, pretty much every major conversation I've ever had with anybody of, like, significant importance has pretty much happened in a car.
I just have the thought of you, like you feel the moment coming on with someone. Like, you need to tell them something. Really
Get in the car!
Get in the car now!
No. I've obviously had difficult conversations outside of cars, but there's something conducive about it where it just feels safe and nice. And...
That's so interesting. I hadn't even thought about them not facing each other. I feel like I always turn in at some point anyway.
Oh, I so don't.
Yeah. Just a wall.
I'm like, if I could just never look at someone again, it would be too soon.
Incredible.
Yeah. I will say, I remember Sharpay from the original movie.
It would be so hard to forget her.
It's so hard, but that's also, this fanfiction gives a very good in-character appearance of Sharpay singing some Christmas songs.
Yeah.
And being ridiculous.
Wherein she has a stage set and wants everyone to watch her sing Christmas carols.
Yeah, and it's the Evans karaoke show. And, like, it's fantastic. I was like, that's correct. I also kind of liked that they didn't really focus on Troy and Gabriella. They showed up because they're in the friend group, but it wasn't a thing where the author felt like she had to, like, shoehorn them in.
Yeah.
Which I liked that because I was like, yeah, this is about these other two characters. And
that's a good point, you know? Because So... the fan fictions I sent you, as I was doing research for these fan fictions, I realized how uncultured I am. Because I don't watch TV.
Right.
Like, a lot of the stuff that I sent you was stuff that I've been sitting in the vicinity of someone watching it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And I'll watch with them, but I never go home and watch it. I'm terrible with it, and I don't know why. But, so that being said, the ones I send you are things that I know pretty well. Mm-hmm. I've read a lot of High School Musical fan fiction.
Oh, bless, child.
Yeah. Usually, I read...
We all have our thing.
Oh, it's fine. But this isn't even it. We're not even close to it. But anywho, I usually read, like, Troy and Ryan ones. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just what floats my boat. But this Chad and Ryan one, I was like, this is really well written. And I do like that it doesn't feel shoehorned with other characters. They appear in the story because, obviously, they're in the universe. But it's more, like, natural.
Yeah.
I dig that a lot.
I agree.
Good, serviceable. Good job, Mixtapestar.
Yeah. Solid, like, 3.5 out of 5, I would say. Didn't wow me, but it was, like, definitely one that I'm going to bookmark and, like, might come back to.
Yeah, I would say 3.5 as well, especially because it was around Christmas time when we were reading them. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all cozy and this is perfect.
Sometimes the right fan fiction comes to you at the right time too. There's some that I go back and reread and I'm like, what was appealing to me about this? And I'm like, oh, I was just, like, in that headspace where that was a good story.
For certain, yeah.
Or, like, it's really great on the first read, and then you reread it, and you're like, nah, it's fine. And then there's some that you go back to a whole bunch of times, but, like, you know.
So true.
So anyway, what would you rate Fin Dameron now that we're doing the, like,
Fin Dameron, I would go 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable, but it was so short, and, like, that was pure fluff to me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yes, that's what I'm here for.
Right.
Which is good. I enjoyed it.
This is not Uber. We reserve 5 out of 5 for, like, truly outstanding.
Okay, good. That's the scale. It's not an Uber scale.
No. This is a, like, Amazon scale.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do the one that I sent you for our next tag, which is Coffee Shop AU.
Oh, buddy. It's like you went into my bookmark history and just pulled out something that was like waiting for me to read it. So this one is called How Inconvenient Old Bean by ProfessorDrarry. All three that we've talked about so far are on Archive of Our Own. Mm-hmm. The summary is, when he had started over, Draco had never really believed that happiness was possible, but here he was, living as a muggle, a beautiful boyfriend, a great job. Things are perfect. So why does it feel like they may not be perfect at all? And what the hell is in this cinnamon latte? Oh!
So good.
It was so good. So I think what appeals to me, it's a lot of telling, not showing. Or showing and not telling.
I was like, wait a minute.
It's a lot of showing, not telling.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well written.
Yes, it is.
I think it's comparable to a novel. Like, it's written by someone who really has a command of what they're doing and their material and all of that. Draco was out of character for me, but I wasn't mad about it. Mm-hmm. I kind of got where the author was taking it with, it's years and years past, presumably years past,
yes,
where we leave them at the end of the actual series. Draco is with this guy, what's his name? Diego, who works at the coffee shop that Harry Potter owns. So, of course, Draco and Harry, but neither Draco nor Harry have told anyone that they are wizards. Like, they are operating and living their lives as if they're muggles.
So, Harry has also, the thing is that Draco has been shunned from the magical community. Like, he's lost all the Malfoy wealth because his parents went to jail after the war, right. And so he just couldn't do it anymore and left the wizarding world.
Yep.
And Harry kind of had the same moment where he just couldn't deal with it. He was tired of always being known as the boy who lived and so forth, and so is now living as a muggle.
Yeah, he dropped out of Auror training, and I love the way that the author decided that he got this
so
coffee shop. So the idea is that he was talking to this guy, he was working for this guy, and he got suspicious. The owner got suspicious of Harry because things were getting done too quickly and too well, and at one point he caught him using magic or something like that, and he obliviated him, but he obliviated him too much because he's not good at memory charms. Yeah. And the guy forgot entirely that he had a coffee shop or a wife or a house, and forgot everything. So Harry kind of fixed it and sent him on his way, but didn't remind him that he had a coffee shop, set him up with a pretty good life with his family or whatever in retirement, and then took over the coffee shop from him. Which is so funny and so Harry Potter.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so what would happen. And I love when fanfiction does that. When somebody's it's not a stretch.
I see it.
Yeah, you're okay, given the situation, this is exactly what Harry would do.
Checks out.
Yeah. Also in this, Draco has become a children's book illustrator.
That's so true. I forgot about that.
Which is so funny.
Oh, so cute.
Using his knowledge of the magical world to essentially con people into believing he's just this fantastic artist coming up with all these magical creatures, but it's just real magical creatures for him that he's just drawing and convincing muggles that it's a thing. And he gets really mad about how unicorns are stupid in the muggle world because that's not what unicorns look like, which is super funny. I also really loved the character of Diego. I think sometimes original male characters can be hard to capture appropriately. And I think original female characters, the same, but for different reasons. A lot of the time, I think OMCs are just projections of the ideal boyfriend. And that's kind of what Diego is here.
Yes.
But there's a real reckoning 3/4 of the way, sort of at the crux of the climax of the plot.
Yeah.
Where that's actually kind of taken over, where it's no, you are too perfect. You're treating me too softly. Draco says this to him. It's you need someone to take care of, and I need someone to challenge me.
Yeah.
Which is why we're not working. And I think that is a fantastic and very mature for a fan fiction moment in a plot. It's so good. That is a real conversation that people have.
But not only that, I also love that it wasn't that Diego didn't start crying and it was it's because you love someone else. He was just yeah, we haven't worked for a while.
He also then pushes him towards Harry because he knows, even though he doesn't know that Harry and Draco went to school together, he knows they went to school together, but he thinks they just went to a high school.
Yeah, he didn't know that they were rivals or anything.
Right, he doesn't know anything about the magical world. He knows that there's tension between the two of them, and he realizes
sexual tension.
Yeah, of course. He realizes that they'd be really good for each other. and kind of shoves, it's very specifically like, Draco, we're not going to do this. Like, Draco is like, goes back to the coffee shop when Diego isn't around, and like, Diego walks in and he goes, oh shit, and kind of like goes to leave, and he goes, we're not going to do this. You stay right there. Also, shove. Like, go kiss Harry Potter because you clearly want to. And I'm here for it.
I'm all about Diego. I'm Team Diego.
I am Team Diego. I want Diego to be happy.
Yeah. And are you kidding? He's gorgeous. He's perfect. He wants to take care of you. Diego was snatched up like that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm positive. And it was just really good. And like, I loved it. I would say that this was a solid like 4.5 out of 5.
Likewise.
I kind of just wish it was longer. Like, I just wish it had been a series instead of a one shot. Even just like a 3-part or something. Yeah, like I want more from this because I want to see what this author would do once the relationship is established between Draco and Harry. And how they would go from, because they end basically on, we're gonna get together, let's just go on a date, let's just try it.
Exactly.
And that's it. Like, that's the end of it. Which is fantastic, but deeply infuriating. I want to see the date!
Yes!
I want to know what they do! How do they, and like, people from the magical world come back to threaten Draco? And I'm like, wait, do they come back? Like, what is the next?
Oh, so true.
There's so much good stuff.
ProfessorDrarry, please don't leave us in suspense.
Please write more in this, because it's fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna go down into the rabbit hole of reading more from this author.
I'm sure we will review another story at some point from ProfessorDrarry.
ProfessorDrarry, you are the shit. You are great.
You.
Good job. All right, Ellen, how do you feel about the coffee shop that I sent your way?
So again, the one you sent me was the longest of the 4 that we read.
I did read through your recommendations for me, and then I was like, oh no, he sent me all one shots. I feel like such a jerk.
No, it was perfect. I was very happy to have had it. So the one that you sent me is called Syrup and Honey by...
Some of these are not meant to be read out loud. What is it? It's
LauGS. It's LauGS. So it's LAU G S. Yeah. And it's on fanfiction.net. It is a glee fic with a summary. Kurt Hummel is 25 years old when he finds himself being the owner of the bakery he had been dreaming about his whole life. Just in time to sweeten up Blaine Anderson's days.
Oh.
Yeah. So, the first thing I want to get out there is that I loved this. I thought it was so good. This was the type of thing that I live for when I read fan fiction, which is like, I get lost in the world, the drama. It's like watching reality TV or like a good soap opera, and you're like there. And like, I teared up, I was like snappy, and I was like, yes!
You texted me and I quote, why is Bert Hummel, what did you say?
Why is Bert Hummel an icon?
An icon. Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, I know exactly what part of the story you're in.
It's so good. So the whole premise is that Kurt, when he was younger, he would spend Sundays cooking with his mom or baking with his mom. They would like bake off of the same cookbook. They would try a new recipe every day, and that's what he loved to do. And then when his mother passed away, he continued doing that and eventually realized that he didn't want to go to New York and be a performer. He wanted to stay close by his family and like protect them, maybe not protect them, but to like be there for them in case anything went wrong because of his past Bert Hummel's heart attack. So he stays in Ohio, like 2 hours away from Lima, and he opens his little bakery, and it's like the cutest little thing ever.
There's an apartment above the bakery.
Oh, so good! I loved that. So good. So good. And right across the street from Anderson and Partners, whatever it is, it's a giant building with lawyers, wherein Blaine Anderson works for his father. And that relationship is not good.
Right. That is the opposite of Kurt and Bert.
It is so bad, where his dad is just like... basically, his dad is disappointed in everything he does and is always belittling him and like ashamed of him because Blaine is out to his parents, and apparently that was the straw that broke the camel's back?
Yep, that's it.
Thank God.
Yep, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, so his father is like, treats him like shit in front of people too, like in conference rooms, like, will grab his work and say, this isn't good enough, like, what have you been doing? You need to work harder. His mom, like, doesn't want anything to do with him either, because she is also ashamed of having a gay son. So shit is bad for Blaine Anderson. And Blaine is, instead of like, what I thought would be the rational human response, but then again, I'm not him. I didn't grow up in that environment. instead of, like, being, fuck my parents, I'm just gonna go out and, like, live my own life, he's, like, trying twice as hard to get in their good graces, to get that love that he never got as a child, which is unfortunate. So then he meets Kurt, and, like, it's the cutest thing ever, because Kurt almost immediately, like, praises him and, like, tells him all the good stuff, and Blaine is like, no, I can't.
No, I am garbage!
Exactly. And that's pretty much, like, a good half of the fic, is, like, that back and forth between them.
Well, I think it's also, I don't know if it says it outright, or if I'm remembering this correctly, if it's an outright thing that is said, or if it's kind of implied that Blaine has never really been with anyone before. So he doesn't really know what it's like to have someone care for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that kind of informs that at the beginning, where he's very suspicious in some ways and very kind of, like, uncertain of how to handle someone being nice to him at all, which I thought was, I mean, that is just a recipe for a good fanfiction.
It was really good. The only thing I kind of took, not offense, but the only thing that kind of, like, made me like, was everyone is saying, like, I think Bert tells them this, Carol tells them this, and Kurt thinks it, and Blaine thinks it, where, like, Kurt is gonna heal Blaine. Like, you're good for each other. You'll heal each other. And it's like, that's not really how that works. Like, if you happen to heal because of someone's support, and, like, that's great. But you should never expect someone to heal you. Like, that's... A, putting too much pressure on someone. B, like, that becomes too dependent, like, too codependent too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason I say this is because I was this person. When I was 18 and very broken and had not had a serious relationship, I was with my boyfriend, who I was, like, pinning all my hopes and dreams on, and I was like, he's gonna make me not feel insecure and, like, stop hating myself, and he's gonna fix my depression. And that's not the way it all works. Unfortunately. Shocker. That was the only thing that I was like, I really wish that we weren't kind of giving this ideal to, like, people or, like, teenagers who are reading this, because let's be honest, that's a big market here.
Right. And, like, people our age, so, like, mid-20s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just, like, one of those things where I was like, it was, like, so close, we didn't have to do that.
Right.
But fine. That was my, like, I think one of my only gripes with it.
Yeah. I do think it does that a little bit. I think it kind of addresses some of that later when Blaine decides to take the case. So the concept is that he's a lawyer, and he's the straw that breaks the camel's back on his father's relationship is that his father chooses to defend somebody who has gay bashed another young man in the community. So they take a case basically defending this guy who has beaten the shit out of this kid for being gay. And Blaine is like, you can't do this. And he's like, no, I'm going to, specifically because I know it will upset you, essentially.
Well, not only that, but so the way it went down, listeners, is Dad calls Blaine into his office, and the guy who gay bashed is in there, and he's like, so Blaine, he's going to be your new defendant. This is the case you're going to be working on. Why don't you tell him what the case is? And so the guy who gay bashes is like, yeah, so I just beat up this, a blank that I'm not going to say. Yeah. And I don't see what the big deal is. And Blaine is like, what the fuck? And Dad is just like, yeah, you're going to defend this guy. He's like living. That was the...
Yeah, so he basically storms out and takes his stuff with him.
Punches his father.
I forget. I haven't read... I briefly went back through this, but it's so long that I didn't reread the whole thing before I sent it to you. And then the secretary that works with him specifically
with Blaine,
takes the case file and, like, goes back to Blaine and is like, I'm going to work for you. Like, I hated working there. Like, let's team up on this. And kind of talks him into defending the kid that got bashed.
Yeah, because the kid who got bashed and his parents couldn't afford an attorney, a good attorney, just because of all of the medical expenses that they were going through. Because the guy who got gay bashed ended up in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, Blaine decides that his swan song and his sort of final fuck you to his father is going to be to defend and win the case for this kid and do it pro bono, and just it'll be his, like, last thing as a lawyer or whatever. That was the moment where it kind of subverts the savior trope for me. Like, it goes through a lot of the savory thing. I think you're totally right that he's placing a lot of hopes and dreams on Kurt, and that's not super healthy, but there is a sort of moment in the end where they're kind of broken up at that point. Like, they're not super on solid footing. And Blaine does realize in that moment, he's like, I have to do this for me, and I need to not screw it up. He does go to Bert Hummel for help.
But I was going to say, that to me was the, like, defining moment, almost, because he and Kurt went to the Hummels like on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because Blaine didn't want to go to his crappy parents' house to just be miserable. So Kurt was like, well, come to Lima. And of course they loved him, because of course. And so when he and Kurt break up, and right after Blaine beats up his father, he's like, oh, I need to get out of this penthouse apartment I'm living in because it's my dad's. So he packs up his stuff and he's like, but I can't go to Kurt, who lives across the street, because I don't want to go back to him like this. I don't want it to be a thing where I'm like, help me. So he goes to Bert Hummel, which, I mean, is kind of the same thing, but not, because it's like someone that he knows, and he reached out for help from someone who wasn't Kurt, which, yeah, I think you're right. He comes to his own, and he's like, yeah, I will pick myself up, and I will go see Kurt when I am, like, more put together.
Yeah.
Which I loved. The court case, I feel like he should have lost. Not because he wasn't, not because it's wrong or anything, like, obviously the asshole who gay bashed should be in prison. But Blaine was not at all prepared. He was just like, I'm going to do this. He was prepared, but then he lost his nerve.
Yeah.
And I was like, Blaine, please, no. For the love of all that is holy, man,
get your shit together.
So
but I mean, that's the fanfic. Yeah,
exactly.
That was any fiction.
That was like the big like Deus Ex Machina, like being the girlfriend of the gay basher who saw it from her window, and she's like, I need to do this. Like my little sister came out as gay to me, and like I just thought about someone bashing her and like how I would want someone to stand up for her, and so I'm here to do that.
Right.
And that's why they win the case. But it literally happens the last day, right before the jury makes their decision.
Yeah.
And Blaine Anderson's father's like schmoozing everyone, and Blaine Anderson is like, But
like, that's fanfiction. Also, like, sometimes I remember to myself, I'm like, okay, but the person writing this is 100% not a practicing lawyer. Which is fine.
That's
like,
true.
You know, they don't know all the things and, like, whatever. And frankly, it would be too bogged down. And it's no different to me than any, like, rom-com or whatever, where you're like, that's unrealistic, but okay.
That's fair. That's very fair.
So, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I legitimately had such a great time. Thank you. I'm like, this is one I will go back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one I've read a couple of times through, but it had been a while since I read it.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
Like, I love me one of those, like, I'm in a really dark place in my life, and then I see the light from someone else. Like, those are always so good. Minus the whole, like, codependency, but anywho, I have issues. What's new?
You can't just, like, drop that and walk away.
I'm sure they know.
Yeah, it's fine. If they listen to Poddergeist, which you should, because it's another podcast that we do, and it's fantastic. Yeah, we talk about Alan's psychoses a lot.
Indeed.
Anyway. So yeah, that's the four. What would you rate Syrup and Honey on the...
Syrup and Honey, I would... Can I be, like, super anal retentive?
Of course!
Like, I'm gonna be, like, 4.3.
Sure.
Because I really enjoyed myself. I thought that it was a good staple as to, like, fan fiction. Like, this is good fan fiction. I thought the narrative style was really good. It was, like, a lot more showing than telling. I do think, like, some of those things that I mentioned, like, the tropes were just, like, if it had been ironed out a little more, I would have been, like, totally on board, but... Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I thought it was great.
Good. Woohoo! I think that was plenty of material for one
that was
episode.
Good.
I'm like, we both are just like, we're done now, right?
Yeah, that's it. We have finished speaking.
Woohoo!
That's all you get.
Yep, that's it.